discrete probability distribution. So, last week we discussed about, I discussed about the probability. So, we move on to the discrete probability distribution wherein pinaghalo na class yung probability and the statistics. Okay? May discrete probability distribution tayo. Meron din na joint and continuous probability distribution. So for today, we will just learn about discrete probability distribution. So may mga formula naman to class. So madali-dali lang ang discrete probability distribution. Okay? So need to review what is a variable. So a variable is a characteristic or attribute that can be or that can assume different values. Okay? So, kailangan natin yung variable. So, a random variable is a variable whose values are determined by chance. Okay, move on. Sabi ko nga lately, the first discussion or the first meeting, we have the discrete and the continuous variables. So, we're in yung discrete variables natin, we have finite number of possible values. While in the continuous, so the variables can assume all values in the interval between any two given values. Okay? So, dito sa discrete number class, discrete variables, yung having an infinite number of values that can be counted. What is a probability distribution or a discrete probability distribution? So it consists of the values of random variables that can assume and the corresponding probabilities of the values. So the probabilities are determined theoretically or by observation. So we move on to the theoretical probability distribution. So ito class yung theoretical probability distribution. So more likely kung magsusolve tayo, we have this table. Okay, so this is a basic example of the theoretical probability distribution. So you need to construct a probability distribution for rolling a die. Okay? Since alam natin yung outcome natin in a die is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, so the probability, ganito yung gagawin natin. We make use of this table. So the probability of getting 1 is 1/6, so on and so forth, hanggang makapunta tayo sa 1/6. Okay? Yan. So we can use this table to represent the different probability in each sample space. Okay. So paano natin siya ma-represent? Ayan. So that is the example number 1. In example number 2 class, this is also a representation wherein the probability distribution for a sample space. Ayan. Sample space for tossing 3 coins. Okay. So we have this bucket 1/8. Ayan. The probability of getting heads. 3 coins, tatlo daw class yung tinos mo. So, the total sample space mo, the total outcomes is 8. Okay? So, the values assume, X assumes that are located on X and the PX are located on the Y-axis. Representation lang to. Theoretical probability distribution. Okay? Ayan na. We have 2 requirements for a probability distribution. So, we have a frequency distribution table. So, alam nyo na yun class in your senior high or in your high school and in the mathematics in the modern world. So, the sum of the probabilities of all events in the sample space must be equal to 1. So, para din itong ruling class dun sa 4 basic interpretation or basic probability rules, diba? So, we have now here the summation of the probability of X is equal to 1. Bakit may maganyan na the sample X? Kasi class, later we will have now the mean, the median, and the mode using this distribution, probability distribution. Okay? Also, balikan din natin yung sa basic interpretation ng probability. So, parehas lang class. The probability of each event in the sample space now is or must be equal between, okay, equal or between to 1 to 0 and 1. Ayan. So, class. This is the summation that is always equal to 1. Okay. So, balikan na natin, class. So, we have the mean. Di ba, class? Alam nyo na pagkuha ng mean? Please raise your hands if alam na yung pagkuha ng mean. Balikan. Given sa'yo lahat ng sample space. Okay, 5 lang. Okay. Yung iba, hindi na alam yung mean, pagkuha ng mean. Okay, very good, class. Okay, so take note, in finding the mean, we all know that given sa atin yung sample space, excuse me, yan, we have the summation of x over the total number of the sample. Okay, this is the population mean. Okay, summation, baliktad pala, class. This is the population and the sample mean. Okay. So this is now the formula in getting the probability of a given probability distribution. Okay. So the formula of the mean. So ganito lang yung class. Ngayon class, hindi mo pa yun makikita kasi wala pa tayong example. Ayan. You have all the x's. Yan, x sub 1, x sub 2, x sub 3, so on and so forth are the outcomes. Yes, outcomes yun, class. So if we have the die, rolling a single die, yung anong mga outcomes natin, di ba 1, 1, 2, 3, hanggang 6 lang yan, class. Kasi, di ba hanggang dun lang yung sample space natin. I mean the outcomes, probably. And the px1, so what is px1? That is, class, the corresponding probability. So sa 1 baga, class, we have 1/6. And this is how we compute the mean of a given probability distribution. So lahat naman siya 1/6, class, so on and so forth. Yan, 1 times 1/6 mo sila. So mahahanap na natin yung mean of that random variable with a discrete probability distribution. So take note, we have the summation of x. The summation of x is the summation of the outcomes. And the px is the corresponding probabilities. Okay? Sabihin, multiply mo yun lahat. Multiply first before adding. Tama ba? Multiply first. Yeah. Okay, so here's an example of that. Okay, clearer example. So, find the mean, ayan, mean of the number of spots that appear when a die is tossed. Ayan. Ito na pala yung example. Okay. In tossing a die, the mean can be computed. Ayan. Makakompute natin siya by knowing the outcome first and the probability. Okay. So, the outcome of having that outcome x, we have 1 to 6, di ba, class? Dapat alam niyo yung mga probable outcome. And the probability of getting a 1 is 1/6, so on and so forth. Yan, lahat naman 1/6 sila. So, in getting the mean of this discrete probability distribution, so, we have this. Yan. So, we have now the mean, the summation of the outcomes times the probability of that outcome. Summation, class, ha? Multiply mo muna bago mo i-add lahat. Ayan. So, this is now your formula. And using your calculator, compute mo na yung mean. Mean na to, class, ha? Mean of that probability distribution. So we have 3/5. As stated here, so when a die is tossed many times, the theoretical mean will be 3/5. So note that even though the die cannot show a 3/5, the theoretical average is 3.5. Bakit 3.5, okay? So, the reason why this formula gives theoretical mean is that in the long run, each outcome would occur approximately 1/6 of the time. So, we multiply the outcome by its corresponding probability, finding the sum. Finding the sum, we will yield to the theoretical mean. Ito na class yung hinahanap natin. Okay, sabi dito, in other words, outcome 1 would occur approximately 1/6 of the time. Outcome 2 would occur approximately 1/6 of the time. So on and so forth. Okay, so yan yung makikita natin sa pagko-compute ng mean. We have the formula, basic formula. Another example, class. Di ba yung example natin gender last time? So ito naman, in a family with 2 children, find the mean of the number of the children who will be girls. Okay. 2 children in the family, girls. Okay. So, we all know that the number of girls, getting the number of girls in a family, so pwedeng 0, 1 hanggang 2. Kasi yun lang yung given sa atin na hahanapin, or how do you call this? Yes, the given. In the problem, family with the 2 children. Okay. So, find the mean of the number who will be girls. Take note, what is the probability of getting that? Ayan, o, bakit? Ito, class, o. Dito kayo malilito. Babalik kayo doon sa subjective or yung pinakauna nating basic interpretation ng probability. The classical probability. Okay, class? So, pabalik kayo doon. So, what is the number of outcomes of getting a 0 number of girls? Paano nyo makukuha to? You have the 4. Ano yung magiging outcomes? Paano nyo makukuha to? Bakit 4? 4 ba yung probable outcome? Bakit? Sige nga, gawa ka. Okay, so the probability of getting that, so 2 children, ano yung una mo? Gawa ka ulit ng, yan. Boy, girl. Ayan. So, sa pangalawa naman, pwedeng boy and a girl. Ayan. Ang ganda ng sulat. And also here, we have another boy. So, this is the importance, class, of having a tree diagram. Girl. Ayan. So, ilan magiging outcome mo? We have boy. So, you will use this, class, yung tree diagram natin, boy and the girl. Having this girl and the boy and girl. Okay, so kayo na, class, gagawa nitong distribution. So, take note, yung probable total outcomes natin lan 4 based from the tree diagram. So, getting number of girls 0. So, eto, class, isa man lang siya kasi dalawang boys, automatically 1/4. And this, getting 1 number of girls in the family. So, ito siya, class. 1 and 2. So, 2/4. So, alam naman natin that simplified, that is 1/2. And getting 2 girls in the family, that is 1/4. Okay? Naintindihan ba, class? in getting this probability distribution? Raise your hands. Okay, isa lang. Isa lang, class. Okay. So, take note because you will use now the tree diagram. So, yung mga sa una nating pinakitang solution or how do we arrive on that simple probability. So, makakatulong yun. So, finding the mean. In finding the mean, class, we proceed now to the mean is equal to the summation of the outcomes times the probability of that. Okay, so yung zero natin times 1/4 plus 1. Yan. And 2 times 1/4. So we have now the mean of getting the mean of the number of children who will be girls is equal to 1. Okay. Yan. Ito naman, class, another example. Ito. So the probability distribution shown represents. So kadalasan, class, given na sa'yo to. Dali-dali na lang pag-compute. Diba? Just need to know the formula as well as the proper. You just need to multiply that. Okay? The number of trips given and the probability of that event. Okay? So this is the table wherein represents the number of trips of 5 nights or more than American adults take per year. So, sabi dito, 6% do not take any trips lasting 5 nights or more. So, 70% take one trip lasting 5 nights or more per year. So, find the mean. So, we need to find the mean given na sa atin yung probability distribution table. So automatically, we can now compute for this probability distribution, the mean of this, okay? Automatically, class, we have now the number of trips, we have the 0, and the probability of getting that. So on and so forth. You just multiply that first before adding those, okay? You have to multiply first the probability, the number of trips, and the probability of that. So, addition, we have now the mean. So, sabi dito, hence, the mean number of trips lasting 5 nights or more per year taken by the adult is 1.2. Okay? Naintindihan ba, class? So, madali lang. Raise your hands if you are listening to me. Or pinabayaan nyo lang yung meat nyo. Ayan. Okay. So, this is now your formula in the getting the mean. Okay. Next, we proceed now past to variance and the standard deviation. Okay. So, kung kanina we have the mean. So, this is just a review. Okay. Ito yung sa variance natin and the standard deviation. Okay? Ito. So, how do we get the variance of a probability distribution? Okay, in finding the variance of the probability distribution, we need to multiply the square of each outcome by its corresponding probability. So, you have to square it first, multiplying the square of each outcome. After that, we need to sum up those and subtract the square of the mean. Yan, malaki. Dami-dami. So, the formula of the variance of probability is equal to this. This is the variance. Equal siya sa summation ng, what is this? We have now the probability. So, huwag mong kakalimutan yung square of that times the probability of getting that. Okay, you have to sum up those minus the, what is this? The square of the mean. So, ibig sabihin, class, hahanapin pa rin natin yung mean natin. Okay? And we have now the standard deviation. So, ang standard deviation class is just the square root of the variance. The square root of the variance. Ito na yung longer formula. Okay? For example, we have a box containing 5 balls. So, the 2 are numbered 3. Ayan. 1 is numbered 4. 2 are numbered 5. The balls are mixed and 1 is selected at random. So, after a ball is selected, its number is recorded. Then, it is replaced. Take note of the word replaced. If the experiment is repeated many times, find the variance and the standard deviation of the number of the balls. So, what is the probability? And the outcome and the probability of getting that. Okay. Ayan. Okay. So, gagawa muna tayo ng probability distribution table. So, ano class yung probability? Ano yung magiging outcomes natin? Sabi sa problem, ano yung magiging outcomes natin? Pwedeng makuha natin is number 3, number 4, and number 5. Naintindihan? Raise your hands nga kung ito yung probability or yung outcome natin. The outcome. Yan yung kalalabasan. Based from the problem class. Outcome. This is your outcome. Pwedeng makuha natin is 3, 4, or 5. Diba, class? So, ano yung probability of getting that? 3. Okay, balikan mo nga yung basic natin interpretation of formula. Basic interpretation of probability. Ano to, class? Yung 3. So, yun nga, i-chat nyo nga kung ano yung probability of getting a 3. 2/5. Yung iba. 2/5. Okay. Take note, as stated in the problem, we have 2 are number 3. So, the probability of getting 3 is 2. What is the total sample space? We have, as stated also in the problem, we have 5 balls. So, that is the total number of sample space and 5 guys. So, 2/5. How about in getting a number 4? Chat. Okay, chat the class para makita ko. Yung iba, same names. Yung the class. So, how do we get? Ayan. Oh, thank you. So, that is correct. So, in getting a number 4, we have now 1. See? Okay, yung iba ata, mahina din yung internet. So, how about in getting number 5? Number 5. Yeah. So, we have now 2/5. But take note, pinapahanap sa atin is yung variance now and the standard deviation. But getting the variance, we need to compute for the, what is this? The mean. Okay. Thank you. So, ano yung gagawin natin? Compute first for the mean. Ano yung mean natin? Summation ng possible outcomes mo times the probability of that event to occur. Okay, paki-compute nga. What is the mean? Multiply nyo to class 3 times 2/5 plus 4 times 1/5 plus 5 times 2/5. It's the mean. Ang bilis. Okay, so the mean of getting this is 4. Tama ba? 3 times 2, 6/5, 4/5. Okay, 1. Okay, tama. So we move on now on getting the variance and the standard deviation of this. Okay, so you have your calculator there. Okay. Tama ba yung answer natin? Wow, galing-galing yung class. So we have now 4. So in getting the variance class, so nakita nyo na dito yung answer. Okay, so we have the summation, but take note, we need to minus the square of the mean. Okay. So, first, the number on the ball. So, alam naman siya yung maging outcome natin, 3, 4, 5. So, i-square mo siya, class, ngayon. So we have now the variance. This is kulang, class. Dapat may squared yan. Ayan, that is the variance. Okay? So, yung variance, in getting the variance, we need to compute the square of that outcome times the probability of getting that, so on and so forth. So, gagawin mo yan lahat sa number on the ball, outcome times the probability. You just need to add it first. Okay? I-add mo to lahat, class. So, what is now? This is minus 4, class. Minus 4 squared. Ayan, kulang-kulang yung ano natin. Minus 4 squared because that is the mean. Okay? So, in getting that, na-add nyo na to, adding this, tama ba to, class, na 16 4/5? Yes or a no? Sa calculator niya. You have to square it first. Nasa calculator. Okay. So, 3 times 3 times 2/5 plus 4 times 4 times 1/5 plus 5 times 5 times 2/5 minus the square of the mean. So, that is equal to 4. Na-compute natin siya. Ito. Ay, wait. Nasaan yung... Ayan. So, you just need to compute, class, the mean also in getting the variance. So, we have now the variance, which is equal to 4/5. Okay. So, in getting the standard deviation, class, you just need to square this. Okay? Yung standard deviation natin, class. Yeah. That is just equal to the square root of the variance. Okay? That is now, we have now the standard deviation, 0.894. Okay, naintindihan ba? In getting the variance, yes or a no. Okay. You will need to compute first for the mean in getting the variance, ha? Huwag kakalimutan yun. Okay? We proceed with another example. Okay. So, kung kanina, class, ganito yung presentation ng data natin. You can use this. You can use also this one. The representation wherein vertical columns na mas madali din, class. The mean, the variance, and the standard you can be also found by using vertical columns as shown. So, we have the number of... Okay. Ayan. We have the outcome or the number on the balls. So, 3, 4, 5. The probability of getting that. So, we use... Okay, so take note, excuse me, we have the probability. So, kinonvert niya lang, class, into decimal, ha, baka malito kayo. the 2/5, the 1/5, and the 2/5. Am I right? Okay. So, in getting that, para makuha natin yung mean, gumawa na siya ng column ng outcome times the probability of getting that. So, minultiply niya na. So, we have this. Bakit? In getting the mean. Okay. This is a formula. Pwede naman class we can use these vertical columns in representing the data and in computing the mean and the variance. So, ito class, you need to square the 3 times the probability. So, ito, squared mo daw siya times the probability of that. So, this is the answer. Okay, so this is now the sum of that. This is summation. Okay. So, we have now here 116.8 minus 4 squared or 16. So, we have 0.8. Okay. So, the square root of 0.8, tama ba class yung solution natin? Ayan. We have 0.8945. Okay. You can use this. If you don't want this, like this class, pwede naman ganito yung presentation ng solution natin. Okay. We proceed, class. Another example, class. So here, class, we have the talk radio show. Radio station has a 4 telephone line. So if the host is unable to talk during a commercial or is talking to a person, the other callers are placed on hold. When all the lines are in use, others who are trying to call and get a busy signal. So the probability that 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 people will get through is shown in the distribution. So class, you don't need to compute for the probability because it is given now in the problem. So we just need to find the variance and the standard deviation for the given distribution. So should the station have considered getting more phone lines installed? Yan. So ito yung tanong sa atin. The first is to find the variance and the standard deviation for this. Okay. Okay. So we use the horizontal line in getting the variance and the standard deviation. So we have now the probability. So multiply mo lang to, class. Ito. And getting the mean. Okay. Summation ng x tsaka ng px. Ayan. Need to sum. Ayan. Sum. So 0 times 0.8 plus 1 times 0.34 plus 2 times 2.23 plus 3 times 0.21 plus 4 times 0.04. So this is now your mean 1.6. And the variance, class, ito class, you need to square it first. Excuse me. And also, yan. Nakikita nyo naman, class, di ba? Square mo muna minus the mean square. Ayan. Square mo din yung mean. Okay? Okay, in getting the variance, we have now the 1.2 rounded. Okay, the standard deviation is just the square root of that. So we have now 1.1. Okay, that is now the variance. Okay. Pero ang tanong sa atin, should the station have considered getting more phone lines installed? Sabi dito, no. Bakit? Because the mean number of people calling at any one time is 1.6. Mean to class yung mean na solve natin. Diba? Since the standard deviation is 1.1, ayan. Okay. Since 1.1, most colors would be accommodated by having 4 lines because this one class, the mean plus 2 times the standard deviation would be 1.6 plus 2 times 1.5, so we have 3.8. So very few colors would get a busy signal since at least 75% of the colors would either get through or put on hold. So this is class the Chebyshev's theorem. Okay, so I will discuss on the future in the continuous and joint probability distribution. Okay, so ibig sabihin class, this is now on how you get the variance and the standard deviation of a simple probability distribution. Okay. Okay, we move on. So, you know the mean and the variance. Okay, the mean and the variance. Now we move on to the expectation. Ano tong expectation? Ayan. The expected value is used in various types of games of chance, in insurance, and other areas such as the decision theory. Okay, so sa realidad to class, game of chance, insurance, and other areas such as decision theory. So, class minsan yung expected value of a discrete random variable of a probability distribution is the theoretical average of the variable. So, in short, that is just equal to the mean. Okay. So, the symbol EX is used for the expected value. Pag tinanong sa problem is expected value, you can use this EX. But that is just equal to the theoretical average of the variable, which is equal to the mean. Okay? How do we get that? Okay. Ito class. So, for example, we have a 1,000 tickets are sold at $1 US each for a color television valued at $350. What is the expected value of the game if you purchase 1 ticket? Okay. So, the expected value, okay, so ganito yung setup class. Ito yung magiging gain mo. Bakit gain? Kasi class, di ba, ang probability mo lang is you win or you lose in this raffle ticket. Okay? Magpa-purchase ka ng 1 ticket for a $350 US. Okay? Yung mananalunan mo, mapapanalunan mo is 349. Bakit? Kasi yung $1 mo is yung taya mo. You will lose that. Negative yan, class. May negative tayo dito. When it comes to expected value. Yan lang, class. So, the probability of winning class in that lottery, in winning that ticket is 1 over 1,000. Bakit 1,000? Kasi 1,000 tickets yung pinabili. Okay? And the probability of losing, so, syempre class, pag natalo ka, you have this probability 999 over 1,000. So, kumpara talaga yan sa'yo, you have this. Okay? Swerte mo, class. 1 over 1,000. Okay, so, yan. Sabi dito, 2 things should be noted. First, for a win, the net gain is 349. Kasi 350 class yung color television natin. Yung value ng mapapalanunan mo. Since you do not get the cost of the ticket, hindi mo na makukuha yon na $1 US mo. Okay? Second, for a loss, the gain is represented by a negative number. Okay? So, in this case, negative 1. Kasi, perdi ka baga class, then ito babalik sa mo. So, negative 1. So, the solution, we have the expected value, which is equal now to the mean. Diba? Formula natin, summation of x times the probability of getting that. Okay. So, we have now the expected value. Since sa problem stated is expected value, excuse me, we have this, the gain in winning, we have 349 times the probability of getting to win is 1 over 1,000 plus the quantity, negative 1. Ayan, yung mapiperde mo class. You will lose this after purchasing 1 ticket times this one. This is the probability of losing the 999 over 1,000. Okay? So, equal na yan, yung expected value mo class is equal to negative 0.65. Okay? Sabihin class, this is now your expected value if you purchased 1 ticket. So, talo ka talaga class. Negative 0.65. That is now the expected value of the gain if you purchase 1 ticket. Aswerte ka class kung mananalo ka talaga. Okay? Okay. So, this is the expected value. So, pag tinanong class sa problem na expected value, you use the notation or the symbol E times the X. Okay? Tindihan? But it refers to the mean. Okay? Okay? Naintindihan ba class? Please raise your hands. Expected value. So, in the theoretical probability distribution, you have now the mean, the standard deviation, and the variance. And last but not the least, the expected value. So, we move on to the binomial distribution. Actually, class, more on the discrete probability distribution is more on the formulas. Okay? You just need to create a probability distribution table and compute the necessary required in the problem. Okay? Yeah. We move on to the binomial distribution. So if we have the theoretical probability, we move on to the binomial. From the word itself, binomial class, so the outcomes of a binomial experiment and the corresponding probabilities of these outcomes are called binomial distribution. So how does a binomial experiment? Ano kasi ang binomial experiment? Okay? Binomial experiment is a probability experiment that satisfies the following 4 requirements. So, unang-una, there must be a fixed number of trials. So, given yun sa problem, each trial can only 2 outcomes or outcomes that can be reduced to 2 outcomes. So, ang pwede lang class na outcome natin na mako-consider is either success or failure. And number 3, the outcomes of each trial must be independent of one another. Independent of one another. Number 4, the probability of success must remain the same for each trial. Diba? Madaming kailangan mong masatisfy before considering that equation or that problem falls under the binomial experiment. Okay? Para mas maintindihan natin, this is now the formula, the binomial probability formula. Okay? Ayan, class. Madami. And for your information, probability is, how do you call it? During exam class, open notes po sa statistics. Okay? Sa EDA. Okay? Open notes kasi alam ko naman madami ng computer programming or software statistical tool. na makakatulong sa iyo, but I need the solution kasi I'll check. And also, open notes kasi you need more tables, specifically kung pupunta na tayo sa joint and continuous probability distribution. Okay? Open notes, balik tayo dito. Binomial probability formula. Okay? In a binomial experiment, the probability of exactly X successes in N trials is, eto na class, yung probability of getting that. Ano yung N factorial mo, class? Ayan, the symbol for probability of success, the probability, the PS, dito muna sa notation. PF is the probability of failure. Yung P class is the number of, the numerical probability of success. And Q is the numerical probability of a failure. So we have the PS is equal to just the P. Ayan. The symbol for the probability of success. And yung PF natin, class. Bakit ganito? 1 minus P is just equal to Q. Pag hindi class given sa atin yung failure, di ba alam natin that in this, the sum of the all outcomes, the probability of all that outcomes is just equal to 1. 1 minus the PQ. So yung failure class is denoted as Q here. And the N is the number of trials. And yung X natin is the number of successes in N trials. Okay? So note that yung number of trials natin is less than 0 or equal to 0 and less than or equal to the N, where X is equal to the number of trials natin, so on and so forth, hanggang sa N trials natin. Okay? So, may factorial tayo dito, class. The N factorial, the N, the number of trials. The number of trials minus the X. What is the X? That is the number of successes in N trials times the number of successes in N trials, factorial, times your P is your success, raised to the X. Yung X natin is the number of successes, times the Q, that is the numerical or the probability of failure, times the N minus X. Okay? We move on to the example. Okay. So, mahihirapan lang kayo. Okay. So, a survey found that 1 out of 5 Americans say he or she has visited a doctor in any given month. If 10 people are selected at random, find the probability that 3 will have visited a doctor last month. Okay. What is now yung N natin, class, balikan mo, that is the number of trials. Number of trials. So, given sa problem 10, that is now your N. Selected at random, that is the number of trials. And ilan daw, class? Yung X natin, the number of successes in N trials. Yung X, class, ito na. The probability that exactly 3 will have visited the doctor last month. Ito na, class. Bakit 1/5? Okay. Yung PQ natin. Yung P is yung number of success. Ayan, number of success. 1/5. Bakit? Ito, class. Survey found out that 1 out of 5, yan, visited a doctor. So, this is, class, yan, class, yung palaging pumupunta sa doctor. So, that is the success. The probability of that American that go to the doctor, that had or visited a doctor, is 1/5. Sabi ko nga, 1 minus P is equal to your Q. That is the failure. So 1 minus 1/5, you have now, ayan, bagal ko magsulat. Equal now yan sa 4/5. Diba? That is the failure. Yan yung hindi pumupunta sa mga doktor. 1/5 lang yung pumupunta. Ito yung trial natin kasi selected at random, 10. But yung successes natin kasi exactly 3 will have visited the doctor last month. So, the probability of getting that exactly 3 is equal to the number of the trials, 10 factorial over the number of trials minus the x. Kasi yan yung successful times the successful factorial. Okay. Times the quantity 1/5. This is your P. That is the success. As stated in the problem, is 1/5 raised to the x. Ayan. And yung Q natin, that is the number of failure, which is 1/5. Bakit 7? We have n minus x here. So, 10 minus 3. We have now 7. So, the probability of getting 3 is, exactly 3 is 0.201. Bahaba-haba to, class. Naintindihan ba? Raise your hands if you understand this. Okay, dalawa lang. Okay, ulitin lang na, ma'am. Okay. Okay, naintindihan naman pala. So, ito, class, this is a binomial probability formula. So, madali-dali lang, class. You have your success and you have your failure, as well as yung number of trials and the number of successes in end trials. So, you have this basic formula. So, madali-dali lang, class. Okay? You just need to analyze the problem. After that, you can compute for the probability of that. Okay? Okay, another example. So, ito, mahirap-hirap, class. So, pinaghalo na dito yung binomial experiment as well as yung probability of getting at least. Okay. Ayan. So, a survey from a teenage research unlimited in Illinois found that 30% of consumers receive their spending money from my part-time jobs. If 5 teenagers are selected at random, find the probability that at least 3 of them will have part-time jobs. So, ayan. So, the probability of getting the teenage consumers. Okay, class, given sa atin, 3 have part-time jobs. Okay? So, hahanapin muna natin yung individual probabilities for 3, 4, and 5. Kasi, class, sinabi ito at least 3 of them. 3 of them will have part-time job. Okay? So, hindi pwedeng mababa sa 3. We have to 3, from 3 to 5. Okay? Kasi yun yung hukon, at least 3 teenagers have part-time jobs. Okay? So, ano yung number of trials natin? So, from the problem, that is 5. And yung x natin dito on the first is 3. Okay, 3. Bakit 3? Kasi probability of getting 3. 3 of them will have part-time jobs. The probability of getting 4 of them having a part-time is the probability of getting 5 out of them. Okay? Kasi yung word na at least. Okay? Take note of the word at least. Okay? So here in the first problem, in the first row, we have the probability of getting a 3. Individual probability muna kasi yung kinukuha natin, ha? For 3 and 4, 5. Then we need to add them. Okay? What is the probability of success of getting a part-time job in America? it was found out that that is equal to 30%. So convert it into, or so that is in percent. So in decimal, that is 0.3. So in the failure now, the probability is equal to 1 minus 0.3. So this is now equal to 0.7. Ayan. Para rest na yung class. So 0.3, 0.7. Saan lang mag-iiba class? So in probability of getting 3 individual probability. So 3 dito class. That is the x. Kasi ito yung x natin. So this is also 3. And this one is 5 minus 3. We have 2. So this is now the probability of getting 3. As well as a 4 class. Yan, papalitan mo lang yung mga x's natin to 4. And 4 raised to 4 yung success natin. And this one class is 5 minus 4. Minus 4. So we have 1. We have now 0.028. And the probability of getting a 5 kasi individual probability pa rin tayo class. So 5 yung x, 5, 5. Ayan. So we have now 5. So 5 minus 5 is equal to 0. So we have now the probability of getting a 5 is 0.02. Since the problem is stated if the 5 teenagers are selected at random, find the probability that at least 3 of them will have part-time jobs. So 3, 4, 5. So we have now here at least 3. So at least 3. So kasama sa kanya yung individual probabilities ng 3, 4, 5. So you have to add those. We have 0.132 plus 0.0028, 028 plus 0.002. So we have now 0.162. Okay? So this is another example of having the probability of at least and in a given binomial experiment in a binomial probability distribution. Okay? Naintindihan, class? We have now the binomial. Okay. Kung kanina, class, we have the formula in theoretical probability distribution. In a binomial experiment, class, madali lang. Okay. So, the mean of variance and the standard for a binomial distribution. So, dapat palaging yung isa sa ulo na we have the 4 condition. Ito, class. A binomial experiment. So, sabi ko, fix yung number of trials niya, yung outcomes niya, success or failure lang, and yung outcomes niya ng each trial is independent of one another, and the probability of success must remain the same for each trial. Ito kasi yung isa sa ulo nyo, ha? Okay. So, for a binomial distribution, madali-dali lang pa. So, we have the mean. So, number of trials times the success. Yung variance natin is the number of, how do you call this? The trials times the success times the number of failure. And the standard deviation is just the square root of that, of the variance. Mas madali ito, class, na binomial. Okay, for example, a coin is tossed 4 times. Find the mean variance and the standard deviation of the number of the heads that will be obtained. Okay. Sabi dito, yung number of event natin is 4. Tama ba? Okay, so since sinabi sa problem is 4. The probability of getting the success. Kasi when you toss a coin, automatically 1/2 yung makukuha mo. One either head or a tail. But in the is head, of getting a head is 1/2. And the failure of that is also 1/2. So, in getting the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation of that number, so, we have now the mean. The mean is equal to the number of trials times the failure, the success. So we have now the mean at 2 if given the problem falls under the category of a binomial class experiment. Okay, and also we have the standard deviation, the variance. Okay, the variance. So you just need to multiply the number of trials times the success times the failure. Okay, so this is now your variance, and the square root of that is also equal to the standard deviation, which is equal to 1. Naintindihan ba, class? Alin mas madali? Itong binomial na distribution or the theoretical distribution? Sige, comment down. Kasi alamin nyo lang is the number of success and the number of failure when it falls under the category of the binomial experiment. Okay? So, madali-dali to, class. Pagkuha ng mean, variance, and the standard deviation. Okay? That is the basic formula. Okay? Pero class, sabi dito, ayan, kung kanina, we can use the distribution. Eto class, pag alam mo talaga nagpo-fall siya sa binomial experiment, mas madali yon. But here, pinakita pa rin dito class yung of getting the number of heads. Ganito class mangyayari pag sinabi ko na show your solution in the theoretical probability distribution. So, ganito yung mangyayari. You have the number of heads, diba, 0 hanggang, kasi 4 na beses mo ito toss yun. So, this is now the probability. So, gagawa ka ng tree diagram or a calculation na kung ilan yung outcome natin. So, 16 yun class kasi 4 na beses ka magtotoss ng coins. So, here now, the probability of getting a head, the probability of getting a 1, and the probability of getting a 2, and so on and so forth. So, we have now the mean. The mean class is equal to the expected value. So on and so forth, 2. Diba? Mas madali yung binomial. And we have the variance. We have 1. And the standard deviation, 1. Sabi dito, simplified binomial formulas give the same result. Okay? Ayan. Yan yung. Siyempre, class, dito ka malilito. Pag hindi tama yung nakuha mong probability, mamamali ka. Okay? So, this is the presentation or an alternative solution. Pwedeng gawin mo tong binomial distribution formula natin sa mean, variance, and standard deviation. You can use the traditional theoretical probability distribution, wherein this is the general equation. The mean is equal to the summation of the probability, the outcomes times the probability of it, the summation of that, and also the square root of the probability or the outcome times the probability of it minus the mean squared. Okay? So that is the difference between the two in a binomial experiment. Okay? Another example. And likelihood of twins. So the statistical bulletin published by Metropolitan Life Insurance Corporation reported that 2% of all Americans' births result in twins. If a random sample of 8,000 births is taken, find the mean variance and the standard deviation of the number of births that would result in twins. Take note, this is a binomial situation. Why? Because we have yung pwede lang nating mga outcomes is twins or not twins. Okay. Yan yung condition natin. So, what is the number of trials? Yung number of trials natin, random sample, given naman sa problem, we have 8,000. So, this is your N. Ayan. This is your N. And now, the probability of that or the success of getting a twin is as stated in the table, the problem. That is 2%. Convert mo into decimal, we have 0.02. So the mean now is 160. Either twins lang class ito or not twins. So finding the standard deviation, the variance class to. NPQ, ano yung failure? So 1 minus the success, 1 minus P is equal to the Q. Take note of that. Q. So NPQ, so we have 158.8. And finding the standard deviation for that, we have the square root of NPQ. So we have 12.5. Okay. Sabi dito, for the sample, the average number of birds that will result in twins is 160 class, and the variance is 157 kasi rounded up. And the standard deviation is 13. Yun. So, ganito lang class ang pag-solve ng binomial experiment in a binomial distribution. Okay? So, yes. We have class the other types of distribution. So, this is just an optional. So, just need to, we have the formula, just need to substitute it right. Okay? So, the multinomial distribution. If each trial in experiment has more than 2 outcomes, pag more than 2 outcomes class, it doesn't fall in the category of a binomial distribution. Okay? So, ang tawag na nun class is multinomial distribution. Okay? So, here's the formula for that. So, n factorial. So, lahat na yun class. Pag madami ng event ka, you just need to have the factorial, yung event natin on the first event and the second, so on and so forth, times the probability of the first of getting that. Okay? So, this is now the formula. Okay. Probability na to, class. Ito ang example natin. So, in a music store, a manager found that probabilities that a person buys 0, 1 or 2 or 3 or more CDs are 0.6, 0.1, 0.1. Respectively, if 6 customers enter the stores, find the probability that 1 won't buy any CDs, 3 will buy 1 CD, and 2 will buy 2 or more CDs. Okay. So, ano yung number of trials natin? We have 6. 6 na customer daw yung papasok. Okay. So, sa first outcome natin or the first event. Okay? So, 1. Okay. 1, ito class, 1 won't buy CDs. Yan, balik dyan yan. The second class event is now panduwang outcome class. There is the first outcome, yung 1 won't buy. Pangalawang outcome natin, pangalawang event is 3 daw will buy 1 CD and 2 or more. Ito. Pangatlong event natin is 2. Yan. Hindi siya bibili ng 2 or more CDs. So, 3 yung outcomes based from the problem. So, we will use the multinomial distribution. Okay? So, the probability on the first event, saan ka kukuha nito? This is stated in the problem. Ayan. 0.3. Ayan, class. Persons by 0. Ito. Nag-fall dito siya, class. 1 won't buy any CDs. So, yeah, that is the probability of that. And in number 2, probability of the person buying a 1, as stated here, is 0.6. So, tama naman. Sabi dito, 3 will buy 1 CD. Okay? Yan yung magiging probability ni 3. Kaya X2 yan. And in the third part, or in the third event, 2 will buy 2 or more CDs. 2 or more CDs. So, in buying those 2 or more CDs, it is also stated in the problem. 0.1. Okay. In a multinomial distribution, ayan, given sa atin yung trials niya, 6 factorial over the first outcome natin na isa lang yung hindi bibili. 3 will buy 1 CD and 2 will buy 2 or more CD. Tatlo na baga to class. So, hindi na to nagpo-fall sa binomial. You just need to find the factorial of that. And the probability of the first event of 1 month of a person that buys 0, CD is 0.3. So, yung outcome natin is 1 kasi yung X to class. And the probability of having or a person will buy 1 CD is 0.6 raised to the 3. Bakit 3? Kasi tatlo lang na yung magbabay niya. So, yung event niya ito, yung outcome niya is 3. And the probability of the third event, which is stated that a person will buy 2 or more CD is 0.1 times or raised to the person who will buy 2 or more CD. As stated in the form, 2 person will buy. Okay? So this is an example of a multinomial distribution. So we have now 0.03888. So this is now the probability on the first one. Okay? In a multinomial distribution. Okay, so take note, class. So this is now the first type wherein this is an optional. Okay? Another example, class, in a multinomial distribution. Okay? We have a box containing 4 white balls, 3 red balls, and 3 blue balls. A ball is selected at random and its color is written down. It is replaced each time. Okay? Replaced each time. Binabalik, class. So, find the probability that 5 balls are selected. 2 are white, 2 are red, and 1 is blue. Okay. So, sa problem, class, we have 5 balls are selected. So, that is now the trials. Okay. The first event, excuse me, or the first outcome is 2. 2 are white. Kung ano class yung stated sa problem. 2 are red. And the second. And 1 is blue. How do we get the probability of this one? Of the first event? That it is white. Based from here, 4 white balls. So, 4 plus 3, yung total sample space mo na, class. 4 plus 3 plus 3. So, we have now 10. That is the total sample space. So, the probability of getting white is equal to 4, 10. That is the first event here. 2 are white. So, that is now the probability of that. Yung 2 natin. Yan. 2 are red. So, how many balls are available there in the box? That is 3. So, 3/10. And we have also the probability of the third one, the 3/10. Okay? The second is red, the probability of getting that, and the third is the probability of getting the blue. Okay. So, since this is a multiple events, or 2 or more outcomes, so number of trials times the first, 2 are white, 2 are red, and 1 is blue. The probability of getting 2 are white is 4/10, and the probability of getting 2 are red is 3/10, and the probability of getting 1 is blue is 3/10. So you compute for now, we have now 81 over 625. So that this is now the multinomial distribution. Naintindihan ba, class? So this is an example of the multinomial distribution. Okay. So we have also the Poisson. Bakit Poisson? Okay. The Poisson distribution. So a discrete probability distribution that is useful when n is large. Take note, pag malaki na class yung sample natin and p is small. Okay, and when the independent variables occur over a period of time is called Poisson distribution. Okay, so here is now the general formula in a Poisson distribution. The probability of x occurrences in an interval of time, volume, area, etc. for a variable where the Greek letter lambda, is the mean number of occurrences per unit. Okay, so here is now your Poisson distribution. And we have the E. Alam naman natin class yung E natin, constant approximate 2.7183 raised to the negative lambda. Okay. And the lambda raised to x, or the probability of that occurrences times the x factorial. Okay. Ito class, for example, there are 200 typographical error randomly distributed in a 500-page manuscript. Find the probability that a given page contains exactly 3 errors. So, hahanapin muna class yung mean number of errors. So, mean plus yung lambda natin ha, of the errors. So, sinabi dito 200 errors distributed over 500 pages. We have now here the lambda, the mean number of errors, 200 typographical errors. Stated yan plus sa problem. Huh? So, in a 500-page manuscript. So, this is now the error per page is 0.4. Yan. Since x is equal to 3, we need to substitute a formula that will yield to this one. So, yung inyo, so yung in natin class, we have 2.7183 raised to the negative lambda, that is the error in per page, and times the lambda, that is the mean number of errors, raised to the x. Bakit 3? Kasi find the probability that a given page contains exactly 3 errors. 3 errors, so given siya sa problem, so we have now the x factorial here, 3 factorial. So we have 0.072. So thus, there is less than 1% chance that any given page will contain exactly 3 errors. Okay? Sabi ko dito sa Poisson distribution, yung n natin is masyadong malaki and yung p, the number of success natin is very small. So, yan. Mako-consider natin yan class pag ganito yung mga given data natin. Okay? And last but not the least, the hypergeometric distribution. So, pinaghalo na to class na combination. Yung ginawa natin sa last part of the second lesson, the probability and the counting rules. Okay? For example, here. So, pinaghalo na to class. 10 people apply for a job assistant manager of a restaurant. 5 have completed college and 5 have not. If the manager selects 3 applicants at random, find the probability that 3 are college graduates. So, we need to assign values. So, we have 5 that have completed college and B is non-graduate. So, the trial is 3. And 3 class kasi selected 3 applicants at random, and yung pinapansin that all 3 graduates are college graduates. Okay? So, we have here, ito class, yung first 8, dito, di ba class ito? AX. AX. Ano yung AX natin? So, that A items 1 kind and B items 100 kind. Ayan. So, this is A. yung A natin and the X. Ito naman class, letter B. This is N minus X. Ayan. Ayan ang mga papi ko. Ayan. All over the A plus B. Times the X. Ayan. Substitute mo lang class, makukuha mo na yung probability of getting that 3 applicants at random and 3 yung college graduates natin. Okay? So, that's ito lang class. Given a population with only 2 types of objects, we have the female and males, defective and non-defective, success and failures. So, dun sa problem class, ang 2 types dun is the graduates and the non-graduates, di ba? So, there are 8 items of one kind. So, ano yung unang kind natin? Doon is yung graduate and B items of another kind. So, yung B natin doon is the non-graduates, which is equal to 5. And the AB is equal to the total population. So, since sabi sa problem 10 doon, A plus B is equal to 10. And the probability of selecting without replacement a sample size N, yes, given sa atin yung sample size natin na bakit 5? 3. 3. Tama. With X items of A, ayan, 5 and N minus X items of B. Okay? So, ito lang naman kasi yung general formula na. Ayan. Ayan. The probability of that first event, okay? Ayan. So, to wrap up, okay, sabi ko nga, we have the binomial distribution. Ito class, the NPQ, the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation, the multinomial distribution. So, pag 2 or more outcomes na class, ito na yung gagamitin mo. In the Poisson distribution, pag yung N natin is malaki and yung number of success natin is very small, ito yung palaging tatandaan. And sa hypergeometric class, when there are 2 outcomes, yan, but sampling is done without replacement. Yan. Without replacement. Take note of the word without replacement. Okay? Ayan, ayan ang aking copy sa labas. Okay, take note. That is now, ayan. Okay, so balikan ko lang. You can use in a discrete probability distribution, we can use the theoretical probability distribution of having the mean, the variance, and the standard deviation. We can use the vertical columns or the horizontal columns in solving that. So, in the discrete probability distribution, we can use of the binomial distribution, the multinomial distribution, and the Poisson distribution, and the hypergeometric distribution. So, take note, open notes naman tayo. So, walang problema yun, class. As long as you understand on how do we evaluate, either magpa-fall ba siya sa binomial experiments, binomial distribution, the multinomial distribution, the Poisson distribution, the hypergeometric distribution. Okay? So, kung wala nang question, may question ba, class? Ayan. May questions ba, class? Please raise your hands if you have questions. Ayan. May question? Wala po, ma'am. Maingay po, ma'am papi mo. Okay? Ayan. So, if wala na class, then that is now the end of our session for the Poisson distribution. Ayan. Ayan, wait. Ayan, nasaan ako? Ito. Okay, so thank you, class. May question ba, class? Class, pa-double check niya. Ayan. So, ganun class sa discrete. Madali-dali class sa discrete, actually. Kasi if you have the formula, you can solve it automatically. Okay? So, can I take a picture of everyone? Yeah. Morning class. Nasaan yung iba? Ayan. Ayan. Good morning. Ayan. Binilisan ko class. Okay. A binomial distribution. So, during class, a discrete probability distribution. So, ganun yun kadali. Okay. Can I have everyone 1, 2, 3